exhausting procedure of cleansing the palate of your life is overwhelming and unsatisfying, rest easy knowing that a few sprays of shop scrub will ablate your problems away until you're left screaming atop the precipice of cleanliness, devoid of any and all befoulment of odorous residues that used to reside upon your precious belongings.
Hey, who told you could be in here?
There was
Dude, I don't think I've seen you around here before. You gotta go. No, we're not moving a bunch of dusty boxes. It's too hot. We're not doing whatever ad you're selling. Quit messing around with my video. Yeah, come on, get out. Hey, turn that music off. Sheesh. Alright, so I called it there for the night. It's the next day. It's hot out there. I think I might end up working during the night again, because it's a trade-off. It's a trade-off between too many bugs and too many temperatures. So this is kind of where I left off. I'm not really getting the finish that I want, and it's mostly because I still have a bunch of scratch marks from the 220. I got this to this. So I'm gonna go to the hardware store, grab some stuff in between, maybe fill some gaps, some other gaps I got in my my sandpaper collection. Maybe I'll grab some other stuff while I'm there. I don't know. Alright, so I'm back. What is that? Between 220 and 800, the only thing that Home Depot had was 320. So I made another trip. I didn't get any footage of that. No, I didn't get any footage of that. But I made another trip to the paint store, and I got the full spread now. Yeah. So this should be good. I should be able to get the finish I want now. I am whooped. That's it for the sanding, at least. So Actually, as I was doing the second side of it, the side that was on the bottom got little spots of rust on it. So then I had to flip it back over and do the other side again, but it wasn't. It was fine. I just did it again at 2500, and yeah, I like it. It looks good. So I'm definitely gonna have to coat it with something, and I think I already have something in mind. I'm just not gonna do it tonight. I'm pretty whooped. That was probably, I think, a total of about 10 hours worth of sanding on that thing. I don't know. I think it'll be worth it. I think this thing's gonna come out pretty sweet. Take another look at this thing. I'm liking it. By the way, the ends on these, I'm not worried about sanding those down and recoating them, because these are always coated with beeswax. The black is the heat and carbon buildup from beeswax burning off, but there's not too much rust going on the blades, so I'm happy with that. That'll burn off and that'll look fine. Yeah. All right. Goodbye, little bucket. You done good. You'll be missed. You did it. You held in there for as long as you could. You did a good job. Alright, so here's what I'm thinking for getting a coating on this. I could use some of this. So I've had some luck with this stuff before, but the thing is, this flat part up here, I use as like kind of a marvering pad, which is like just for flattening stuff out. So this comes into contact with hot glass a lot, so I kind of feel like the permalac would just burn off too quickly and like not soak in enough. Or I could use some of this. Now with the linseed oil, my understanding of it, which is, to be honest, pretty limited, it's best to apply it to hot metal, or at least warm metal, like a few hundred degrees. But the problem I have with that is that I don't understand tempers. I don't know if these jacks, if the handle part of it is tempered at all. And so just all of my lack of understanding in that just combines to me not wanting to do that necessarily. So you might be asking yourself, well, if this part's coated in beeswax, why not coat the rest of it in beeswax? And, well, the answer is just kind of right there. Look how grimy it is. Like, that's not really rust. That's just sludge and dirt built up on there. Like, there's dog hair sticking to it. It's not a nice feel. So what I've heard might be a feasible alternative for this is to take the linseed oil and the beeswax and some turpentine and mix them all together. From what I understand, you can apply that to cold steel and it'll soak in enough to get like a good waterproof layer going. And I'm really not sure how well it's going to work. I've never tried this before, but I want to see how well this does, because I think it would be a nice option to have for coating any other, tools that I have laying around that are getting rusty. I think if this works well, it'll be a good little addition. So this is my beeswax. And this is what I use for coating the blades of my jacks. So it's pretty gunky. It's there's a lot of crust. There's even like bits of broken glass in here. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna cook this down in a bunch of water, let that set, and that should get a lot of the solid particles out of there, and then I'm gonna filter it. Oh no. I don't know if I just did that or if that was there. Dang it. So basically all I'm doing with this, melting down the wax in water so that all the crud and all the carbon and all the dust and everything that just falls into this tray, instead of binding in the wax, it's going to bind to the water, so that when the whole thing cools off, the water sinks to the bottom, all the crud sinks to the bottom, and the wax floats to the top. I'm probably gonna melt it down again after this and then run it through a filter just to get a little bit nicer of a beeswax out of it. Alright, so I'm just going to stop this here because I got to bring you up to speed on just all the mistakes that I've made and everything that I've learned about melting down this beeswax. So really what it comes down to is the temperature that you're melting it at and the rate at which you cool it. So basically what I learned is that cooling it off in something taller as opposed to something wider is going to be better because it'll cool down slower, it'll retain the heat longer, and that'll give the wax more of a chance to separate from the water. With the temperature, apparently you want it between 150 and 180 degrees Fahrenheit. If you go much higher than 180, it starts burning the wax. So on my first attempt, I let that pan cool off and I flipped it over, and all the crust on the bottom was really thick and really spongy. I scraped all of it off, but it ended up being about half of the wax. The first major mistake that I made was taking that spongy crust and just melting it back down with the good wax. And then the second mistake that I made was when I melted it all down, I melted it way too hot. And I apologize if you hear a bunch of dogs barking in the background. They do this all the time. So when I poured that first attempt, it came out all right, but I really felt like I could get something better. this time around, the crust was still too thick. And I hung it up to dry. I left it to dry overnight, and I just didn't really like the result that much. It was the same kind of thing over again. So I scrapped that, started over. This time I used a simmering bath. I checked the temperature pretty regularly to make sure I wasn't going too hot. I used way more water this time, and I cooled it off in a taller container and just let it set overnight. And this time I got way better separation. The crust on the bottom is maybe a third of the material instead of fully half. I'm just way happier with this try. So I'm gonna use this and see what I can come up with. So that's how much I have left after scraping, and that's how much dross, or whatever you would call this, I had come off of there. Huge difference. I can definitely still see a darker layer in the wax down here. I'm gonna give it one more filter just to get the last of that out. I've got a tray of water. I've got a couple glass rods that I put the pot on. The wax goes in the pot. And I use this guy just to keep an eye on the temperature. So I've got it mixed up. I've got these guys ready to go. I did end up sanding the blades down a little bit. After my big long explanation of why I wasn't going to, I did it anyways. So here we go, moment of truth. That's it. It's done. I'm stoked. I really am. I'm so happy. This was so much longer than I ever intended it to be. That beeswax though, that was something else. Yeah, I was having a lot of difficulty with the beeswax. So if you've got any suggestions on a better way to do that, I am totally open to them. I would love to hear any kind of better way to do it than what I was doing, because I was having a lot of difficulty with it. What ended up working out the best was pouring it through a filter while it was boiled down in water. Like, for some reason the water helped it go through the filter easier. So if you're not really sure what these are used for, I will definitely be putting these to use very soon. I gotta use these. It's not gonna be this episode. Check it out soon though. These just feel so much better. Like, I can already, before it's even like totally dry, this feels worlds better than the way they did when just covered with rust and oil, and every time I picked them up, like, my hands would just be covered in unpleasantness, and now I'm really looking forward to using these. I like it. So yeah, thanks for watching, and I will be putting these to use very soon.